Please bear with me as well. I have never used CAD on a Mac, so certain things are a little different. Just the layout wise, I need to look for something. However, if you're going to be working on this computer, I would suggest getting this kind of mouse with a third mouse wheel. That makes it a lot more easier. We'll see why. Okay, so as you can see, that's where the... Wow, it's not the smoothest over there. I'm going to open, you have the light version. Okay, so that's the main opening window. I'm going to try to keep it simple but also show you just a very basic layout so that you can at least have an idea of how to start making floor plans. So I'm just going to start something from scratch. So let's say click on the new one, open, and there you go. That's your window. As you can see, it has a nice grid. It's basically like a universe inside, so there's no measurement. So far, I've never been able to find out. There was once I was bored and I was trying to see how much further right I can keep going, just kept going. So I don't know if there's like an extent where it wants, like it stops. But however, this is the window, right? So before trying to make a few things, so this is the layout for the Mac. If you open the PC, the layout is going to be on the top side. Like everything is usually on the top over here. It's, in my opinion, it's a bit more easier to find things over there. However, that's fine. Everything is over here. Like if you want to make a new file, open an already existing project, export. How to print a few things, I will show you that on a different lesson. However, like some basics. So the first thing that you do, because I'm gonna strictly stay for the architectural side of things. So the first thing you want to do when you open a drawing is make sure your measurements or your units are correct. So to do that, anywhere use your keyboard. You can, anywhere you type, if you see in the bottom of the screen it says type a command. Your mouse can be pointing for anywhere or do whatever, but when you type, it's always going to type in that screen. So that's just how it's set by default. So if I just type UN for units, enter. So you see it says decimal. That's the unit of measurement for now. We don't want that. For architectural drawing, it's better to go for architectural. So now you can have it in feet and inches. So everything that you make is going to be measured in feet and inches. Okay? So that's how you set it. Click OK. So now everything you're going to make is going to be in architectural. Before I go further, let me show a few things. The most simplest thing you're going to make is a line, let's say. So there's a few ways of making a line. As you can see in the drawing commands, there's a whole bunch of symbols over here. The very first one is a line. So either you can select that first, or you can type L and enter. So that selects a line. Okay. Let's say if you click that, the very first command, if you see in the bottom, it says specify first point. So let's say you want, it doesn't matter. Like if it's a blank open window right now, you can start from wherever. Let's say I want to start from right here. Okay, now you see the line is gonna go wherever I take the mouse, right? So how do you measure? How do you like? Just give me a measurement. How long do you want the line to be?
50 feet.
50 feet?
40.
Okay, I'll pick 50. One measurement. Okay, so this, yeah, two ways. Like depending on the direction that you want the line to be, make sure your mouse is pointed in that direction, and just type 50 feet. The symbol for feet is apostrophe. Quotation marks would be inches. Okay, so apostrophe, and there you go. So I'll press escape to get out, and that's 50 feet actually. There you go. Because it was in the direction that my mouse was pointing at, the line's gonna be that one, in that direction. Okay, let me delete that again. Let's try that one more time. There's a thing in CAD called dynamic input if you want to take control of everything that you're seeing. So the why I said the middle wheel mouse button is important. Obviously you can use it to zoom in and out, that's fine. You can do that with the Apple mouse as well. However, when you press it, it gives you the panning window. So you can move your screen around. That makes it a lot more easier. So far in this one I couldn't find it. If there's a way, great. but that middle mouse wheel window is very helpful. Once you start making stuff, it makes it really nice. Anyway, so there is something here in the bottom. There's a whole bunch of options. I'll show you a few things. There's something called dynamic input. If you see that, hopefully that's being recorded. If not, the other way to use it is F12 key. So if you press function F12, it'll show up. And now, you see that it's giving me the measurement there and the angle there. So if you want to see in a more precise way exactly what is happening, you can do that to make your lines. If you think, no, you know what, that's just a little too much, I don't need to be that everything, so you can remove it. Again, to remove it, function F12 key, or it's right over there, right above there. Dynamic input, if you can see it highlighted. Alright, cool. Let's try something very simple. If I make a weird shape, right now I'm not necessarily measuring anything, I'm just gonna try it making something there and enter. I'll make a circle right over there. Okay, so now let's so there's 3 different kinds of selection windows. It'll be very useful once you start having complicated drawings, if you want to select something specific, one object or anything. So if this is your drawing, this whole thing is your drawing, just click somewhere on the left side, just one click, and if you drag it, it's a blue colored window, right? Whatever's in that window, everything is going to be selected. Okay, now if the mouse is on the right side of the drawing and I pull it towards the left, it's a green colored window. Okay, now what this does is anything that it touches, it selects. Not the whole thing, but anything that it touches. For example, that was a circle, right? So circle is 1 unit, so it's going to select the whole thing. Now for this, only 3 lines were selected except for 1. Okay, but now let's say if you want to get into complicated spaces where, like, I only want to select this, but without, like if I do this, it's not selected. Only the lines that were completely in the box were selected, but these 2 were not. Even if it was just a tiny inch, you see that, just a tiny bit left there, but it's still not going to select it, right? So what you can do is click, do not release the click and hold, and this is called a lasso selection. So you can draw around it and then select it. Okay?
You don't change any mode.
No. So just click and hold and draw around the place that you wanted. Just click and hold instead of releasing it. Because if you click and release, then it'll give you that thing, the blue selection window. Okay. I'm gonna delete this. Let's say, okay. I assume you guys are gonna be working on a lot of floor plans. So let's try to make something very simple and basic. A floor plan is usually, a building's usually rectangular in shape, right? So that's easy. So there's a whole bunch of shape options here. Let's go for the rectangle. Okay. I start at a point. Now I need to give it some dimensions. So if you see in the command window, it's give you a few options. It says area / dimensions and rotations. So if you know the area of the space, great. But the easiest ways to do is the dimension. So I'm gonna hit D, enter. Now I can specify give me a building measurement, something, length. 50 feet is fine again. 50 feet. Now the width.
20.
And there you go. Just press enter so that it stays there. So let's say that's your room. That's a floor. Now the floor should have some rooms. So let's say if you see, okay, let's say you want to draw another line and you need to connect it to something. You can see it's already showing you the center of this area. It's already marked over there. That's nice. But sometimes if you're trying to pick a starting point on an existing line, just go around it. It will show you that's the end point. You can see it's tracking, and it'll show you the midpoint as well. If you see the triangle, that's usually the midpoint. Okay, so that makes it a lot more easier instead of you trying to find. Just go for like that. Oh, yeah, there you go. So let's say there's from the midpoint of that wall, 10 foot. There you go, much better. It looks nice. Okay, and then I wanted to touch that wall in the end, so I just put it there. Okay, that's one option. Let's say 2 rooms like that. So I just take that point, go perpendicular, and that's it. And what else? I'm gonna take this, go all the way to the so 10 feet, 10 more feet. There you go, and go right there. Okay, let's leave it right there. So how does that even look like a room? Not much, right? So there's a few tools that you can. So a room has a wall, right? A floor has a wall. A wall has a certain thickness. Usually, it's around 5 inches, depending on where you are and stuff like that. Let's take 5 inches as our example. So there is a button. So if you see on the left side, there's a whole bunch of tools. The modified tools are going to be very, very helpful. There's one here called offset. It's right over there. Okay, select that. I didn't enter the dimension. Okay, offset, enter how much. 5 inches is what I would do. Do that, select this, and there you go. Now you have your wall. Okay, so let me do that again to show you something. So, and zoom in a little bit. So offset again, the direction that you go with your mouse, that's where it'll offset to. For example, now I picked it. If I go towards the right, it's 5 inches reduced. If I go towards the left, 5 inches more. Okay? So depending on which side you go, it's going to stick to 5 inches. But we need a 5-inch one there. Okay? There you go. So now if you see, the cursor still has the offset shape. So whatever line I pick, it'll continue doing that. So how about this? I'll go inside. How about this? I'll go inside. How about this? Inside. But this, I'll go that way. This, I'll go this way. Escape, enter. So there you go. That's your basic, if you can imagine like that, right? So now a few other tricks for you to, but real life walls are not like this, right? So there's no, it's not clean. It's like a lot of intersection happening. There's another tool, okay? That tool is called trim. If you go over here, you see that scissors, hard to miss. It's called trim command. You just select it and done. So the trim command works when there's like an intersection, a line is being cut by 2 boundaries. Okay? If this was not intersecting, or if it was not a definite point, it would not trim it. It has to have a boundary, a definite boundary is being cut. So now I want to remove this line, this piece of line over here. So clearly this one and this one is cutting it. So sometimes when you're trying to use the trim tool and you see that it's not working, what that means is the lines are not intersecting somewhere. So you'll have to go and zoom in a lot and check where, if it's offset or something. Let me give you an example. So let's say I take a line here and just end it right there. Okay, now I want to use the trim tool. Actually, it did work. It works, but you didn't use it before. Anyway, there you go. Clean the lines. Oh, now instead of clicking one line, you can do this way also. Just drag, done. Okay, just drag, done. Click and drag, and you're done. Just trying to make it a little more cleaner. There. Okay, good. Now that looks better. That looks like an actual floor plan. Now what should we, let's try making. Oh, I thought some of you know how to make. Do you know what blocks are in a CAD drawing? Blocks, right? Mm-hmm. What are blocks?
Blocks are just different shapes that you can create, and so you can create however you want, and it's just copy paste. You don't have to do it over and over again.
Exactly. So instead of making 1,000 things, you can simply make a block, save it, And for example, because you guys have very specific things that you make, right? Like those triangles with color-coded stuff. So you can always make your blocks and save them and stuff. It's simple. Before we make blocks, if you look on the right hand side for a Mac, for the PC it would be on the top, layers. Layers are everything. Make sure every time you make a drawing, you make a layer for everything that is different. For example, a wall is a wall. Let's say if you're going to make doors, make a different layer, because everything needs to be classified differently, so that it makes it so much more easier when the time comes when you're trying to find something, when you're trying to change something. You can just isolate it by the layer and find out what it is and stuff. If every element of a drawing is in one layer, it just makes it that much complicated. So this is how it's going to look like on the right side, the layer state. So let me make a few different ones. So new layer. What should I name it? Doors or door? I'm gonna name another one. Make another one.
Windows. Windows.
Windows. And dimensions. Let's do that. For dimension, I'll just. Usually the industry standard is they use the word dim. Means dimensions. Okay, but they all look the same. I'm gonna change the color. Doors are going to be red. Windows can be that. Okay, dimensions can stay white. Okay, so now let's first make a door. That's another thing that you guys are wanting to make, right? So, does anybody know what's the average width of a door? Like, how long is a door?
6 by 5 feet.
No, I mean the width.
40 something inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
1.5 meter.
Between 39 inches and 46.
1 meter.
Yeah. Let's say for now, today, it's 3 feet. Okay? So I'm just going to start somewhere, a line, 3 feet. Enter. There you go. That's your 3 foot line. Okay. Actually, let's start making a rectangle. Let's make it a little more easier. So that's where I'll be. Dimensions, length, like I picked 3 feet, and then 2 inches. There you go. Okay, so that's, let's say, a door. Now, now the wall that I made was like 5 inches, so there's got to be wall casings, like the frame, right? So let me make a frame. I'll try to click another rectangle. This time a frame can be 3 inches, like the dimensions 3 inches, and then 5-inch thickness. There you go. Alright, simple. So I'm gonna select that, and if you say when you right click, if you select something and you right click, there's a few different options. The one we're looking for is moving it. So you can click on a point and drag it to where you want to actually move to. Where do you want it to attach? Where you want it to be attached. Okay? Now, the same frame has to be on the other side. Okay? Instead of making a whole another one, there's another tool. It's called mirroring. Okay? Select the object that you want to mirror. Where is it? There you go. If you see these two triangles, it says mirror over here. Select that. Select the midpoint. Drag it. Okay. So for me it was easy right there. Let me show you that again. Let's say this object again. That's how I want to replicate this object on the other side. Exact same opposite side. Select that object, and that's where the mirroring tool is on the modify pane. Select that. Now if you didn't have a particular spot already, you can click anywhere for that matter, and you can see that it's trying to place it. So you'll have to do, if it's in an open space, so basically it's looking for you to give it a midpoint, because that's how mirror works. There's a central midpoint, equal distance from that is on the other side. That's where it's going to place it, right? So if you don't have a spot over here, and if you just put it on a blank space, it's gonna assign that as a midpoint, but it doesn't know. So it's going to ask you to make the angle as well. So you can actually turn it however you feel like, but 90 degrees is exactly where the actual midpoint is, and there you go. Just click it, and you'll get it. Questions? Okay. No. If you escape, if you don't press enter, it's gonna go away. So make sure you hit enter. Let me show that one more time. Select it, delete it. So now that's the one that I wanted. So I'm gonna select it, go to mirror, and I know that it needs to be exactly the opposite side, which is why I picked the midpoint of this. Because if that's the midpoint, I know that it's gonna be exactly on the opposite side, touching it. So I select the midpoint, go straight up, and there you go. Now it's there. All right, cool. Okay, but if you've seen the CAD drawings, that's the architectural designation. You need to show that the door opens a certain way. So there needs to be an arc representing it to show that it's a door. Now, if you see up here in the drawing pane, there's something called an arc. It's too small in this one, but you can see there's a bunch of different kinds of arcs actually. Just press and hold it, you'll see a whole bunch of options on how you can make an arc. Okay, so this may require a little bit of thinking on your part depending on the arc that you're making. How would you want to go about it? For me, I'm thinking like one end of the door, this rectangle, one end of it is a center, the other end needs to be a start. There's a whole lot of options that will depend on you. So trial and error is a good way to learn CAD first and foremost. So in my experience, start, center, start, end arc is the easiest to make. What I mean is, when you select that, the first point you specify is going to be your center. That's what it means. The second point you're going to specify is going to be the start, and then the end. Basically, that's what it means. If you click something else, let's say if I start, center, end. Start, center, end. But I wanted to go that way, so wherever. So all that simply means is when you're trying to select an arc, there's 3-4 options in that. It simply means the first button that the first selection is going to be your center point, the second is going to be the start point, and where you're going to end it. So let's say, Bradford asked, how do I, instead of it being a solid line, how do I make it dashed? Select the line, go to the layer that it's in, select that, and then it needs more. There you go, dashed.
Oh, but every line in that layer just got turned.
Yeah, but then every line in that layer is going to turn. So which is why
We have multiple layers.
Command Z, and we have multiple layers, and you can do that in the other layer. Okay, to finish off this door, I'm just going to go. Okay. Now, do I need anything else for this? Actually, I made a mistake. It doesn't need to be there. Okay. Anyway, that's fine for now.